You've gathered everything people say should help your child to relax: the swing, the fidget toys, the weighted blanket. And somehow, bedtime is still full of energy. It's frustrating, right? You've done all the right things, but what if the problem isn't the tools? It's how, when, and how much sensory input your child's body is getting. Today, let's talk about how sensory tools can sometimes backfire and how to use them in a way that actually helps your child drift into sleep. Hi, I'm Diane Lusney, and I'm here to help you help your spectrum child to have better sleep every night. So let's get moving so you can use this information ASAP. Point 1. Not all movement calms the brain. Movement can be amazing for regulation, or it can completely derail bedtime. The difference comes down to two things: rhythm and direction. Let me explain what I mean by that. Your child's brain has a vestibular system, that's the sensory system in the inner ear that detects movement and tells the brain which way the body is moving, how fast, and whether they're upright or tilted. This system has a huge impact on your child's level of alertness. Here's the thing: different types of movement send completely different messages to the brain. Slow, steady, predictable motion, like gentle rocking or side to side swinging, tells the brain you're safe. Everything is under control. You can relax. This type of movement is called linear movement because it moves in one direction in a smooth, predictable pattern. The body loves predictability when trying to calm. Think of a rocking chair, a slow swing moving forward and back or side to side, or the gentle sway of being rocked in someone's arms. But fast, bouncy, or spinning movement does something totally different. It wakes up the vestibular system and sends alert alarms to the brain that say, we're moving, we're active, we're still playing. This type of movement is unpredictable or rotational, meaning it changes direction quickly or spins the body around. That's why many kids fall asleep in a moving car, but not right after bouncing on a trampoline. The car provides slow, steady, linear movement with gentle vibration. It's rhythmic and predictable, so the vestibular system interprets that as calming. But the trampoline, that's fast, bouncy, unpredictable movement that activates the vestibular system and energizes the whole body. The same applies to spinning. When your child spins in circles, hangs upside down, or does somersaults, the vestibular system lights up. The brain gets excited because spinning and flipping are alerting movements. They make you feel alive and energized, which is wonderful during playtime, but terrible for bedtime. Even the direction of movement matters. Forward and back or side to side movement tends to be more calming than up and down movement. This is why a rocking chair works better for sleep than a bouncy exercise ball, even though both involve movement. What you can do: end all fast or unpredictable movement at least an hour before bedtime and switch only to slow, rhythmic movement if your child still craves motion later in the evening. Think rocking chair pace or gentle side to side cuddles on the couch, slow enough that you could count to 3 for each direction of movement. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Does anything pop into your head that you could do? If it does, please share it in the comment section so other exhausted moms can try it. Point 2. Timing and intensity change everything. Here's something that can sound confusing. Even the most calming sensory input can wake the body if it's too strong, too long, or too close to lights out. Let me give you an example. Deep pressure, like a tight hug, a weighted blanket, or joint compressions, is one of the most calming types of sensory input that you can offer. It activates the proprioceptive system, which we talked about in the last video, and helps the body feel grounded and safe. But here's what might be happening depending on your child. Deep pressure that feels wonderful and organizing at 7:30 p.m. can actually be overstimulating at 8:30. Why? Because by 8:30, your child's body has already started to power down. Their nervous system has begun the shift toward rest. And when you introduce intense sensory input at that point, even calming input, you're asking the nervous system to wake back up and process that sensation. This is also true for duration, how long the sensory input lasts. 10 minutes of deep pressure massage might be calming earlier in the evening, but right before sleep, even 2 minutes might be too much. The body needs less input as bedtime approaches, not more. And intensity matters too. A weighted blanket that provides gentle, constant pressure throughout the night is different from active, deep pressure activities like bear hugs and joint compressions. Active input requires the nervous system to engage and respond. Passive input, like the steady weight of a blanket, allows the nervous system to acknowledge it, process it, and simply rest under the weighted blanket. The key principle is this: as you move closer to sleep, sensory input should become gentler, briefer, and more passive. You're guiding the nervous system from engaged and processing to quiet and resting. However, and this is a huge however, it depends on your child. Differences between kids on the spectrum is massive. What you can do: end all active sensory play about 30 minutes before bed or the bedtime routine, depending on your child. Then transition to low effort, steady sensations like slow, rhythmic, heavy work, weighted blanket, or slow breathing. You're guiding the nervous system from engaged to resting by gradually reducing the intensity and the activity level of the sensory input. If you need some calming techniques after your child is in bed, check out my free T-zone system for relaxation and sleep below. Point 3, use sensory powers for sleep. Every sense affects arousal, that means alertness level, differently. Understanding how each sensory system impacts the brain helps you pick the right combination for your child at bedtime. Let's go through them. Vestibular, that means movement. We already talked about this one. Fast or spinning movement wakes the body. Slow, steady, linear movement calms it. Proprioceptive, that's deep pressure and body awareness. This is almost always grounding and organizing. Pushing, pulling, carrying, or receiving firm pressure signals stability and safety to the brain. This is your most reliable calming sense. But remember, only activities at slower speeds. Tactile, touch. Light, tickly, or unexpected touch alerts the nervous system. It makes the brain pay attention because light touch can signal danger, like a bug crawling on your skin. But firm, predictable touch soothes because it's intentional and safe. Auditory, sound. Sudden changes in volume, high-pitched sounds, or lyrics keep the brain active because it's listening and processing the language. Soft, rhythmic, low tone, like white noise, nature sounds, or instrumental music, help the brain settle because there's nothing that requires its attention or interpretation. I've also heard that Baroque music or other 60 beats per minute music is very relaxing. Visual, sight. Bright or shifting light excites the brain and suppresses melatonin production. That's the hormone that signals to your body that it's night. Dim, warm toned, consistent light quiets the visual system and allows melatonin to rise. Olfactory, smell. Strong smells stimulate the limbic system. Mild, familiar scents like lavender, vanilla, or even your laundry soap can cue safety. Gustatory, taste. Sugar, carbonation, and artificial flavorings activate the nervous system. Warm, bland, or protein-rich bedtime snacks, if a snack is needed, help stabilize blood sugar and calm the body. Bedtime snacks can be tested to see if they impact sleep, complex carbs versus protein, for example. But please don't try to use too many sensory strategies at once. Don't dim the lights, play music, diffuse essential oils, offer a weighted blanket, give a massage, and rock your child, as if you could do all those at the same time. Doing all of these would create sensory overload in a different way. The brain has to process all these different inputs at once. It's scanning between the smell, the sound, the touch, the movement, and that scanning keeps it active instead of allowing it to settle. What you can do: choose one calming input from one or two senses only, and that's it. For example, you might use deep pressure from a weighted blanket plus soft white noise. Or you might use dim warm lighting plus slow rocking. After those are accepted, you can always try more or remove something. We're trying to keep things simple as well as effective. Once you fine tune which sensory inputs you use and when, bedtime should start to feel more predictable instead of chaotic. But what if the disruptor is outside of your child? What if the room itself keeps your child's senses on alert? What if the bedroom environment is quietly telling their brain to stay awake, even as you're trying to help them sleep? We get so used to our home, we don't see potential problems that are right in front of us until someone brings them to our attention. Let me share with you some zero cost quick fixes that encourage a deep and healing sleep in my next video. See you there.